Hello, everyone, and I hope you're all well. My name is Tanner Dagenais, and I'm the host of Self-Sabotage Solutions. On this podcast, it's my opportunity and my pleasure to be able to share everything I know about self-sabotage, but also to be able to share other people's self-sabotage stories because it's so important that we know that no matter who we are, where we come from, or what we really have experienced in life, that we're all able to overcome self-sabotage. And so I'm very grateful and thankful to have Jordy Francis here on the line. He's a medium and a psychic. And I'm super excited to be able to hear more about that and just kind of hear his story. And I'm sure you guys have probably heard me just having other podcasts with Nathan Francis, that is actually his brother. So I'm excited to get the other Francis here on the line. Thank you for coming on, Jordy. And can you please introduce yourself a little bit? We can go into your story.
Yeah, sure. No worries. Thanks for having me. So I'm Geordie. I have an Instagram, a Facebook that I can't actually access at the moment. Long story, but um, I do have a YouTube channel as well. I kind of go under Geordie underscore medium 13. It's a name that I just happen to create and it's kind of stuck. So um, yeah, I guess when it comes to my story and myself, and I guess I've only been doing this for probably about 8 months. But I've always had these abilities. I've always seen things. Growing up in the house that I did, I've always seen things, always saw shadows. And I know when my parents left the house, and Nathan as well, when he left, I was always funny about being stuck on my own. I was always funny about being left on my own. So I would always turn a light on, or if I was having to go to a different room, I would always turn the light on first and then walk through. I hated being at home in the dark on my own. And I guess that's what kind of where my journey started into all of this mediumship and tarot readings and all of that stuff. And then I went on a trip to Queensland and I saw this kinesiologist, and she was doing her stuff on me and she's like, you know, you can do everything I do, right? I'm like, are you sure? Sure about that? And then yeah, then she's like, you know, you can be a medium if you wanted to be, and that stuck with me. That always stuck with me. So when she said that, I was like, oh, okay, let's do that. And then I was like, how do I get into that? How do I start? How do I even go about doing that? And she's like, you've got to you start with tarot cards and then build that ability and just let it flow. And then, so I started with tarot cards and I started doing readings on other people. And then after that, it kind of just built even more. And then I saw a client, and her husband had passed away. And then I started communicating with him and telling her stuff, and it just kind of just built from there. And then, yeah, I guess that's kind of a bit of a short story of how it kind of all happened, sort of. Yeah.
Wow, that's super interesting. I would never have thought. So for kinesiology, I thought that was mostly just muscle testing. Is that partially like medium stuff too, as well, or?
Well, the way she does it is she's also a psychic too, so
Oh,
she
okay.
does readings and stuff like that. So when she does her kinesiology, she really taps into everything, like past lives, everything. And that's how she was able to see that I've had this ability in past lives, and it's carried on into this life too. So that's kind of how it started, with her, and then to my journey, basically.
Wow, that's awesome and that's super interesting. So is like being a psychic or a medium, is that mostly like reading like energies, or is it like reading like the spiritual side, or what was it, kind of a mix of both, or what was?
For me, it's more or less I sort of tap into the energy of that person and I sort of get a gauge on their life, their timelines and where they are at in their life right now and what I can see coming for them at that present moment. Obviously, it can change depending on choices that we make and stuff like that. So I always, let them know that as of today, this is the timeline for you, but it can change depending on the choices you make and where you go from here.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Wow, that's so interesting. And so that was obviously a big change in your life when you started looking into that kind of stuff. Do you think it's helped you anything with like with self-sabotage? Like, do you think it's helped you kind of like address some things on your own? Like, like I know you help other people with that stuff, but do you think it helps you as well?
Definitely. Well, touching on self-sabotage, I mean, so I was someone, I ate a lot of junk food. I drank alcohol too for a long period, a long period of my life too. And I didn't have an addiction to alcohol, but my addiction was food. And so now, obviously, I've stripped a lot of that and worked on myself so much that I'm actually the fittest I've ever been in my life. But because I've always been big. Um, yeah, and having to work on that as well has helped me to really tap into these abilities more. I felt.
Yeah, that makes total sense because I feel like, if your body's polluted, then your mind's gonna be polluted, and you probably a lot of this ability comes from just having a clear mind and being able to actually like pick up
Yeah,
like because like if you can't be in like touch with your own body, then it's gonna be hard to pick up on someone else's. So that's
yeah,
makes perfect sense.
exactly. And that's what I felt for me. It was um I've always had these abilities, but I was very good at blocking it and just I didn't want to touch it. Like I was even for a long time scared of seeing someone that had died. And when I was hearing Nathan would talk about our grandpa when he passed away, I think it was that night he saw him standing in our kitchen, and I was always afraid of that. But ever since tapping into these abilities, I am starting to see more. I am starting to have that ability to it's growing really is probably the best way to explain it.
So the very first time you felt it was like when you were, I guess, I guess maybe you didn't realize it the first time you felt it, but the first time you kind of noticed it is like when you had like the lights turned off and you were home alone, right?
Yeah, so when I was home alone, the experiences I had, a lot of doors would shut, and I was always like, check outside. Is it windy? Like, is there windows open? Trying to explain it away. Um, and that's how it started. And then there was a lot of things that would happen in the house, and I would always see shadows, especially in my parents' rooms. I'd always see shadows, always see stuff going on. And that's why I hated being in the house in the dark on my own. I was probably around 10 when this was happening, and a little bit younger, and then it continued on into teenage life as well.
Interesting. And do you think it's like there's more activity based on like the location you're in, or just is based on like how in tune with like yourself and energy you are specifically?
Without going too much, but like yeah, now that I've grown the ability, I have noticed that the kind of where our house was built, it was on some different stuff. So that kind of helped, kind of not helped, but like it kind of made the experiences stronger. And now that I've got these abilities, I've been able to cleanse the house and kind of get rid of some of the stuff that had been hanging around in the house from centuries, basically.
Yeah, I feel like that's important. Um, I feel like even if you're like not noticing those things, you can kind of feel like an energy, like and it makes perfect sense because like they even prove it with like quantum physics now. Like, everything's made up of atoms, and then everything below that is made up of different quantum particles, which is really just energy. So
Yeah,
like on a scientific level, we know that everything is just made up of energy. So the fact that that we'd be able to sense other people's energy and things like that makes total perfect sense to me.
yeah, and even the last few nights, I've had some stuff that I've had to heal from and stuff, and a lot of stuff was coming up for me, and I noticed, especially last night, that there was just strong presence in my room. I could just feel. Even Nathan came into my room. We were talking, and he's like, "There is a strong presence in this room." So, obviously, I feel with when it comes to spirit guides, our spirit guides, I'm happy to talk about that too. We've all got spirit guides, and I've noticed they were around me a lot last night.
Are spirit guides, do you think there's probably different for everyone, but is it like mostly like ancestors or like what is it usually?
uh, the best way I can explain it, and the way it makes sense to me, is that it's built up of definitely there's some ancestors. I feel like it's built up of different people from past lives, even this life that we may have met for a short time that were only supposed to have a small impact in our lives when they were here, and so when they passed, they they transitioned into that spirit guide to guide us on the rest of our life, on our journey, basically. And I believe we've all got them. And yeah, it can the interpretation can be different for everyone, but that's just how I interpret it. Is that they're made up of different people, different even I don't know how deep you want to go, but like different beings, different celestial beings as well that we've that are just here to help us on our journey.
Yeah, I mean, I have no doubt that there's other beings out there, like different dimensional beings, because we can only perceive in like one dimension, really. Well, most of us can only perceive in one dimension that we believe, and I feel like that's partially due to like the way the system like limitations are, where we're just being poisoned on like a hardcore level with the food and sedate, like being influenced to sedate ourselves nonstop with alcohol and stuff like that. So I'm
And just
curious.
on that,
Oh,
just
so
on
what,
that,
what were you saying?
sorry, I was just going to say, just on that, I feel that has been some of the plan is to stop a lot of the people that have these abilities is to eat the junk food, drink the fluoride water, all of that, and it all blocks our connection. And I was told when I was first starting in all of this is that if I was to ever drink alcohol, I've got to be really careful because I can be taken over. So it's like, not that I want to drink alcohol again. I did have one drink, but I was making sure that I was very, very careful because in the stuff that I'm doing and tapping into all these different energies, I've got to be careful because I don't want to be taken over.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at the name of like what most alcohol is, right? It's spirits
Mm,
or it's booze, right? So it's like
yeah,
in the name too, and like I feel like that's the way English language is. It's kind of a lot of the stuff is like hidden in plain sight.
yeah, it is. It's definitely, and just knowing that, and when I did have that drink, I was like, okay, let's be really careful. And I made sure it was only one. I didn't want to, I never want to be drunk again. So if I did have that one drink, I was like, I'm going to be extra careful. And I wanted to make sure it was my choice too. So I was with some work colleagues for a Christmas party, and I was like, I want it to be my choice and not be pressured, not be, because I hadn't had a drink for over 12 months. So I was like, if I'm going to do it, it's going to be my choice and no one else's.
I love that. Have you gotten a lot of pressure to drink? Like I know when I stopped drinking, like I was at a wedding and this guy's like, "Come on, drink, drink, drink." He kept trying to buy me a shots, and I was like, "No, I'm good. Like I'm fine."
Yeah.
But he was like insecure about me not drinking.
I mean, I guess not. I haven't really felt the pressure because I haven't been around a lot of my friends that I was from the last few years that I was drinking with. And when I went on that trip with Nathan, I went to Queensland and they were here in Victoria. So I never really felt the pressure. And I noticed at the work Christmas party, there was still no pressure. They're like, oh, you don't have to. And when I said I was going to have a drink, my boss actually was like, you're not. It's okay for you to have a drink. And I'm like, yeah. She's like, you're not a part of AA or anything. I'm like, no, no. No, because it's like it just seems to be we're in a culture where drinking is just so normalized, and that because I wasn't drinking, I'd have to be in AA sort of thing. It's like, well, obviously I'm not. It was just my choice, and I attempted to make that as clear as possible. It's like, look, it's my choice. I didn't want to drink, and I don't want to drink. To me, it was like okay, I've had this one drink and I don't want to go back. And it was like a complete let go. Like, I'm not going back there, sort of cutting ties with that old version of me, basically, is how I kind of saw it.
Yeah, that language you use, like that's not me. I don't drink. Like, I love that
Mm.
because a lot of people are like, I'm trying not to drink, and then that's like pretty much saying I want to drink, but I'm trying not to. Like it's like a, and I feel like our language is so important. Have you kind of like I know a lot of us have like been like tied down by negative language and stuff like that. Have you, especially with working with like having Nathan as your brother, have you like adjusted like your language like that you use with yourself and things like that?
Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest things I've had to work on is especially loving myself and all of that. And the language that I use when I speak about myself or even to myself, I've had to really change because I got into such a rut where I didn't like myself. I really hated myself, hated the way I look, hated just there was nothing that I could pick that I actually liked about myself. So in the last probably three years, but especially the last 12 months to 18 months, I've had to really do a lot of work to be like, you know what? I actually do love myself. I'm grateful to be here. And yeah, I've had to really work so hard on the language that I choose and the way I speak about myself and how I choose to speak about myself as well. I've really had to do a lot of work on that.
And what do you think has been like the most effective method for you personally for that?
Oh, probably the best way, especially the last probably few months, is a lot of affirmations and having them in my room and seeing them has really helped, probably more so than what I've let Nathan believe because he made them for me. And I guess even just in the bathroom, just having a little affirmation of I love myself sitting there next to the mirror because I was the type of person who I spent little time as possible in the bathroom because I didn't want to look at myself in the mirror. So just having that there and even just doing some mirror work too, just going, looking in the mirror, looking at your body and looking at yourself and going, you know what, I actually do love myself. I love my body. I love my organs and all of that stuff. Just that positive self-talk has really changed. Even journaling has helped too. And just getting a lot of the thoughts in my head out. So then I'm like, okay, I can release them, I can let them go. And meditating has helped too. So those are probably a lot of the tools that I used in probably the last 12 months mostly to really help to have myself in this position.
Yeah, I love that, and I love how you went from like many different angles because like I feel like most people will try like affirmations for like a couple of days. And they're like, oh, it's not working, I'm done. But like really, you gotta attack it from all angles. You gotta use the mirror work. You gotta use affirmations, and I feel
Yeah.
like mirror work is super powerful because like I know like my wife and like a lot of other people just in general, like just like you, like they look in the mirror and they just like attack themselves and they beat themselves up for it. So it's awesome that you've been able to do that for yourself. Congratulations. Yeah.
Yeah. And even the food that I choose to eat, I'm ensuring that the food that I'm eating is going to benefit my body in some way. So I've always had a really bad relationship with food in the sense of I would just eat my emotions, eat my feelings. Had a lot of suppressed emotions too. And really picking, well, really stripping that back and going, you know what, why am I eating? What emotion is coming up? How am I feeling in this present moment as to why I want to eat? And that has really helped in shaping me to be a lot healthier. And I'm a tennis player, so I love tennis and playing here in Victoria and Bendigo. I'm actually playing some of the best tennis that I've played for my life, and I'm actually so much fitter on the court too. And I've noticed so many changes, and a lot of that too has come with the mental side because I've noticed on the tennis court I'm a completely different person. I can be quite upset and angry with myself, and I've noticed that it's not that I don't care. It's like I'm happy if I'm still giving 100%, but I'm still going to be happy because even if I lose, because I've put all the effort in that I know I can. And I've noticed a lot of change of just staying in my heart space and staying in that instead of being in my head about, oh, what's going to happen, trying to focus on everything else but what I'm actually doing. So, and I've noticed that has helped. And yes, really the food that I'm eating has helped change a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so important. I feel like the food that we eat is like just like you said, like it really can change like all aspects of your life. Like I feel like for most people, like that's one of the number one things I recommend. Like if they're trying to overcome self-sabotage or just start make their life better is just eat actual food. Like avoid all
Yeah.
the processed garbage, avoid all the fast foods, read the ingredients on the back of the labels and like know what you're putting into your body.
Yeah. And that's what's been helping me. And I work in a cafe as well here in Victoria, and we sell a lot of sweets. And that used to be a trigger point for me. Whereas I wanted, and if I, and the way I explain it is when there was always, my dad loves his chocolate and everything. So um, So when it was in the house, I'd want to eat it. And then I've worked so much on the whole on all of that so that the temptation is there, but I don't want it. And working in the cafe has helped because I'm seeing it, but I'm like, you know what, I don't want it. I'm not interested. I'll sell it to you, but I'm not going to eat it myself.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what do you think allowed you to get that like change in perspective on like just knowing what's in it, or like what do you think it was?
That knowing
Yeah,
what's in it is big, but also just knowing that it can the kind of food you eat can change your mood and in your mindset, and that's the big thing is your mindset. And I felt the healthier foods that I've been eating and putting into my body has helped my mindset to be like, I want more of this and less of that. So working in the cafe and seeing that food, I'm like, yeah, you know what, it does look good, but I don't want it. It's not for me. And I guess it's helped to make that choice of I just want the healthier option instead of the junk food or whatever else.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I feel like knowledge and then just experiencing how like it changes your life when you start to eat that way is definitely very powerful. And that's so awesome that you've been able to do that. How old are you, by the way?
I'm 24.
Oh, 24. Nice. Okay. And you're getting healthier and healthier as you go on, which is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, and that's what and I feel the healthiest I've ever felt. Like I look at old photos. I was never one for photos anyway, but looking at old photos, I'm like, I don't even know that version of me anymore. I just it was a completely different person to how I am now.
Yeah, that's so awesome you're able to start that eating that way so early on, because I feel like the sooner you start that, the better, right? But like
Yeah,
even if you start like later on, it can have a huge impact on your life. But
yeah,
that's so amazing.
yeah, and just on that, I'm also exercising a lot more too. So yeah, I'm playing tennis, but I'm also going out for a walk, taking my dog, or I'm doing different stuff so that I'm still I'm exercising and I'm feeling good for the day. That's how I like to start my day is bit of exercise just so I can feel good and then I can do whatever else I want to do for the rest of the day. Whether that might be chilling out or just or seeing some people or whatever it is, I'm like that. It for me, that's a good positive way to start the day of getting out in the sun. Yeah, just enjoying the walk or just enjoying the company of my dog, whatever it is.
Yeah, I feel like that's important to get the exercise done early in the morning, because in the like if you do it like later in the day, you usually have all these excuses like, oh, I just worked a full day. Oh, I'm tired now, right? But like if you get it done right in the way in the morning, you're just like, okay, I'm good. I'm just gonna get it done with.
Yeah, exactly. And I've noticed because I'm working at the cafe and I work odd hours, so I work like 10 till 3, or I could work from 8 till 7 or even 9 till 3. I always finish at 3. And I've noticed because it's a two-story, so we're going up and down stairs. I'm like, I don't want to go for a walk because I've just been climbing. I've done about 50 climbs of the stairs. I'm like, I can't be bothered. And now that I'm off work for a couple of weeks, I'm like, I get to I get to go back and walk my dog, and I don't have that excuse of I'm actually too tired.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, that's so cool, and I feel like it's good that you're at least moving around during work too, because like I know like my job, like I'm just sitting at a desk all day at a call center, so I definitely make sure like at the 15 minutes I get, I go outside and get some walks in, because otherwise I'd be going a little stir crazy. But yeah, that's awesome. You're getting that exercise in. So what does your exercise routine look like? Is it just mostly walks, or is it lifting weights?
Yeah, it's most I'm not one for lifting weights, but I know one of our friends is making their own gym, so that's definitely an option. My exercise is really just a lot of just cardio, just walking, or I might even incorporate running. And then it depends on when I'm playing tennis. So I play on a Thursday night and a Saturday. So if I'm playing tennis, I probably won't go for a walk that morning. Um, so then I feel because tennis is everything for me. I'm that passionate about it. I don't want to tire myself out for the match or whatever.
Yeah, do you play competitively with tennis, or just more recreational?
Yeah, definitely competitive. I'm a competitive person. So when we have time off with tennis, I notice that there's different areas where the competitiveness comes out, and I'm like, okay, I need to get back on the tennis court and just deal with that competitiveness. But yeah, definitely competitive, and I love it. And I've got a good bunch of people at the tennis center that I play with, and it's just positive. So
That's great. And the fact that you've been able to like address your mindset when you're out there like playing tennis, like it's powerful stuff once you realize that you can just like change the things you're saying to yourself and the way you're thinking, and you can literally have like better tennis matches and you can enjoy the experience so much more.
And that's what I felt was the next step. Like I've been doing so much self healing, and then when I went back to tennis, it was like something's off, and I felt that for the first couple of weeks because I haven't been away for a few months, and I just was doing other stuff that when I went back to tennis, I was like, oh, I need to address this. It's not so much as a temper tantrum or anything like that. It was just that I was so angry at myself. And I'm like, I need to address that. I need to address how I'm dealing with myself on the tennis court. And then once I realized I was getting in my head, and that's when I noticed that even the kind of the way I was playing, I was like, this is not how I play. This is not, I know my ability. That's not it. So then I was working, especially on the tennis court in that moment, going, okay, let's get back into the heart space. Let's just take it point by point, and I'm the type of person that I love a good comeback. So I will get myself into positions where I'm like 5-2 down or something, but I'll come back. I'll come back because I'm still working on that mental side of things where I'm like, all right, what's going wrong? Where am I going wrong? What's happening? Why am I down? So I can bring myself back. Where's the and I can't even talk. The positivity comes out. That's when it's like, all right, we need to build myself back up here. Just take it point by point. Don't worry about the score line. Who cares? And then I'll end up coming back, and half the time I'll end up winning
Wow.
after that. And I'm like, I have my parents, even my brother, is like, how did you do that? I'm like, just change my mindset on the tennis court. Just got out of my head and went back into my heart space and focused on what I was doing.
Yeah, that's powerful. And I think it's a good point you make. Like you were actually sabotaging yourself and making it so you were down. Then you can actually change that by just changing your mindset and start to get back in your heart space and focus on like just having a good time and enjoying it more, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I do that in winning positions too. Sometimes I'll be the one that's 5-2 up, and then I'll just focus on other stuff because I'm like, oh, I'll probably just, win from here sort of thing. And then it gets back to 5 all, and I'm like, holy shit, what am I doing? I need to I need to figure out what's going on here. And it's usually because I got distracted by other stuff and my mind wasn't focused on, you're 5-2 up, let's finish this. Let's not continue, let's not have this match continue on. So there's definitely moments of that too. I get
Right.
both of it, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really powerful stuff. And I think that's a great example of just like how like changing your mindset can really just affect you like on all aspects of your life, like confidence and your ability at tennis and just eating food, like what foods you eat and everything.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing I always struggled with was the confidence and having confidence in myself and my ability. And that even filtered into my medium stuff. And, when I was seeing clients, I was so hell bent on making the session absolutely perfect for them. It had to be perfect. I wanted them to get everything that they wanted to get out of it. And that's what I kept focusing on. I was like, well, that's a lot of pressure. That is a
Mhm.
lot of pressure. And then I realized, you know what? It's going to be on them as to what they get out of it. I'm providing a service, and if they aren't getting what they thought that they'd get out of it, maybe it's better or it could be worse. But that's not on me. I can only do what I can do. And once I started working that out and going, you know what, just listen to the messages that you're getting, just be confident in yourself, and you will provide a good session no matter what. It's up to the person and how they interpret what you're giving them.
Yeah. I think that's so important. And you can kind of like take that to all aspects of life, right? Like you can't control what other people are doing,
Yeah,
and worrying about what other people are doing or how they're experiencing things is really just self-sabotage. And once you start focusing on what you can do, and like the actions that you can take, that's where the true power is to like make the changes and to move forward.
exactly. And I feel like that's something that we were never really taught. We were never taught how to, and I know from growing up, sometimes we weren't always taught to take responsibility for our own actions. And I feel like that is a big thing. Take responsibility for your actions. You can't control what other people are going to do or say. And I've had to deal with that a lot. I was bullied for a long period of my life too. So I've had a lot that I needed to heal and work on, and that was a big thing. It was like, you know what, I take responsibility for my actions. I forgive myself for being in that position, but I don't also excuse their behavior. But I have forgiven them, not to their faces, obviously, but like just calling them in, doing a bit of a meditation of and having that forgiveness and being like, you know what, I forgive them, but also forgive yourself because that's you're not holding on to anything to do with yourself for being in that position or for how you reacted or what you said or what you did. It's forgiveness is the most powerful thing, I believe.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. So do you feel like when you started to forgive yourself and forgive them, you kind of had like a weight lifted off you and you felt like just just better, I guess, in
Definitely.
general?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I noticed that and that's with all aspects of my life. And that even happened on the tennis court too. I was like, I forgive myself for putting myself in that position. I forgive myself for for the way I handled situations or for what I did or said. It once I started doing that, it just a whole weight was lifted off my shoulders, and I felt a lot of the pressure that I was putting on myself when it was with tennis or whatever it was. I noticed that really that pressure went, and I could just be more of myself and just be my authentic self and just not have to worry about anything really. Just be more forgiving. It's kind of how I'd say it.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. I totally agree. Like you can definitely use it in all aspects of your life and just um also just like don't like attack yourself if you do self-sabotage or you do mess up, right? Because like
Yeah,
I think that's very common. Like people will self-sabotage or say something negative themselves, and then they'll be like, "Oh wait, that was bad. You're dumb. You're stupid," and they're like they'll self-sabotage themselves for self-sabotaging themselves. Like put themselves
yeah.
in this cycle.
And that's the thing with on my Instagram. I write some quotes, and that's the biggest thing. As I always write, is don't be hard on yourself. Forgive yourself. Like we all make choices, and at some point, you're gonna have to accept that you made that choice instead of holding on to it and making yourself feel worse. Is that's not going to make it the situation any better. That's just going to, you're going to become depressed or upset or sad. You're going to have all these feelings and then you'll start suppressing them and self-sabotaging more. So that's why I believe is the most important thing is to release those emotions. Well, first of all, feel them, release them, thank them for being there, and then let them go because they don't serve you. And and then forgive yourself. We all make choices. We've all made the choice to be here or to in some aspect in our life, we've all made these choices that have led us to this point. So it's not gonna it's not worth hating on yourself for it. You might as well accept it and then figure out how to get out of it. Or if you're in a good position, well, you're gonna be thankful that you got yourself there.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Like, accepting like the bad situation, accepting those negative emotions first, and then moving on. Because I feel like a lot of
Yeah.
people just like try to reject it without like, accepting, like, no, that's not me, that's not me. But just gotta accept it. Like that came to my mind, that was a thing that happened, and that's okay. And now I'm gonna choose something better.
Yeah, and that's what I felt when I just going back to when I had that drink a week ago. That's when I was like, you know what, in the moment, I was like, oh, why am I doing that? Why am I doing that? And then I started was like, hang on, no, I made this choice. This was my choice alone. And then and the next day and the few days after it, I started to realize I made that choice so I could let it go and will first feel the emotions that were coming up for me, but also to be like, you know what, this was an old version of me, and I feel like I can finally and fully let it go because I'm not going to go back there. So I felt like, yeah, I had that one last drink to be like, am I sure I want to give this kind of life up? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. I don't want to go back. And that was a real such a moment of growth for me because I got myself into a position for a few months where I was like, I just want to go back to how my life was with my old friends. And, I wanted to go back to the way my life was because I never thought my life would be here. But then I started to realize, you know what, all the stuff that is happening and all the stuff that is coming, I'd want to be here and ready for it instead of going back to hating myself again. I don't want to go back there.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I love the fact that you've been able to, overcome that stuff and um like get to the point where you can actually like love yourself again. I feel like that's so important and it can take you really far in life is being able to accept yourself and use that energy to move forward and to continue like, be a better tennis player, to love yourself even more, to open yourself up to different relationships instead of just, focusing and dwelling on that negativity.
Exactly. And I feel like that's what a lot of us are stuck in is that negative self-talk, that just all that negativity. And I feel you just even without casting judgment, but like, you can walk down the street and you can see people and you can just feel some of the negativity. You can just feel that energy. And that's why for me it's so important that I have some sort of protection up, which is a little sort of like a little prayer that I say to myself just so that I feel protected so I'm not taking on other people's energies because I don't want that negativity. And it's so powerful when you start doing that and realizing, when you go to the supermarket or when you're here or there, just have some sort of protection up so that bad energy is just bouncing off you because you don't want that. And you don't want to take that home where you're just stuck in that negative energy. And it's like, why am I feeling that way? Hang on, that's actually not my negative stuff. I need to let that go.
Yeah, I think that's really important to address because like the things in our environment definitely have an effect on us and people are in our environment and feeling that I was actually curious. I was going to ask you that question, like do you feel other people's energies like when you walk by them and stuff? Like I know like I've walked into a room before and I felt like, oh man, it's something serious going on in this room, right? But I'm picking up more and more on like people's energies like that as I've taken away like the sedations and got myself healthier, just kind of like you have.
Yeah.
But probably not quite on the level you are. So I was curious like what how that looked for you.
Yeah, I am someone that picks up on other people's energies, and I feel like that comes from sort of like that empathic emotion, that kind of empathic state that we have, that kind of being that kind of sensitive person in a sense that we can pick up on other people's I can actually also pick up on other people's feelings and emotions, so I'll know exactly what you're feeling at any given moment. Not always a good thing, but I don't mind it can be interesting. It depends when it comes up, but yeah, just I can pick up on different energies, even just walking into supermarkets at different times. It can be like, oh, there's it's not great in here. There's something or someone or something. Yeah, it can be funny. And I noticed in the last couple of years, when I took a break from tennis, not my choice, but I had to take a break from tennis and being around that, some of the energy, it was completely different to the way it was before that. And now coming back, it's back to where it was again. And I don't know what's changed, whether I've changed or whether some of the people at the tennis centers changed. I don't know. But yeah, it definitely, our environment and can have a big effect on us. It definitely can. And I've noticed that depending on the situation, wherever I am, it can have an effect. But I also believe it's our choice as to how much we let it affect us. And if we can be like, you know what, we made the choice to be in this position or to be in this environment, accept it, release it, let it go. And you'll notice a big change from just that too.
Yeah, I
Because
completely. Oh, go
we
for it.
can't I was going to say we can't control and we can't always change the situation. We can change ourselves, but we can't change others. We can't force them to change. We can't control this our environment sometimes either. So it's up to us to do the work.
Yep. Yeah, that's so true. I completely agree with that. And the best way to protect yourself is to what take care of yourself health wise, mentally, do
Yep.
all the things that you've been doing to make sure you can, keep your aura or your force field, your energy feels strong and be able to protect yourself mentally and physically.
Yeah, definitely. And that's been one of the biggest changes too, is just protecting myself from some of that negative energy, because I've noticed from growing up, when I was taking on that kind of negative energy, it wasn't mine, but I didn't realize. So then I was eating more, or there was a lot of more negativity surrounding me. And I was like, where is this coming from? This is not mine. And I didn't know what to do at that point, but now I do. And it's like, you know what? Breathe in, just take a few deep breaths, just relax, let it go, send it back to the person or send it wherever, as long as it's not staying on you. So
Yeah,
the sun
that's
even.
awesome. Do you feel like when you're on social media, you can like that affects your energy as well? I'm sure it probably does, but
It used to. It
okay.
used to. Seeing, how do I describe it? So seeing certain images that would have an effect on me, it used to. Just seeing all those fit bodies back when I was feeling my biggest, I was like, oh my God, another one, and just that used to have a big effect on me too. It kind of depends on the situation. I've changed a lot of my social media to be more positive, and that's why it doesn't really affect me anymore, because I'm not looking at all that crap anymore. So I guess I feel that's important, because I know a lot of teenagers and a lot of people out there, they are stuck in a depressive state, and looking at certain social media pages and looking at certain things, it's not going to help. It's going
Yeah,
to make you feel worse.
spot on. Yeah, I completely agree with that. There's a lot of negativity like on TikTok and like things like that, and it's so easy to get kind of locked into that world. And I'm sure like that's that part of our mind, the subconscious, that doesn't really understand the difference between fiction and reality, and kind of believes
Exactly.
everything.
And just having that continually coming up, I don't think a lot of people realize that a lot of those stuff, like on Instagram with the reels, they're all suggested. So if you're going to continue to look at negative stuff or negative stuff, anything negative, well, that's going to keep coming up until you look for more positive stuff. And when you look at more positive stuff, even more positive stuff comes up. It's such a cycle that social media has, and has created itself to be whatever you look at. It's going to keep suggesting for you to keep looking, and you're just going to be even more depressed than what you were. So I've always felt that, and well, I now feel that it's so important to have at least some sort of positivity in there, because no, social media can be negative, but you can also find the positives in the negatives.
I completely agree. That's so important. I feel like you can kind of apply that to life too, right? Like
Yeah,
if you're looking for some things that are negative, you're going to find more negative things because it's kind of like the universe will provide what you ask of it. And so you
exactly.
got to be careful what you ask of it, because if you are bring up all that negativity, all that, like, oh, I'm not good enough kind of things, then that's what you're going to get. Like the universe doesn't discriminate against what you ask. It's just like, yeah, here you go.
Exactly. And that can even apply to people that are looking for love as well. Like if you're looking for love in the wrong places, well, you're probably going to get someone that is not right for you, until you're in such a positive position that you're actually looking for love in the right places. Well, you're going to get someone who's actually vibrationally matched to you. And I felt that has also been a big change for me, because I am single, so I am looking for love. And that has been another big change of being more positive. So actually looking for love in the right places. And personally, I don't feel like a lot of the apps out there are positive anyway. You're really not going to find love on there, on
Yeah.
Tinder or whatever it is. I personally believe it. Yeah, good luck if you do.
Yeah, those dating apps or like those hookup apps. I completely agree. And
Yeah,
I feel like also for the love talk, like loving yourself first. Like so it's awesome that you've been able to like address that self-love portion, because like
yeah,
if you go into a relationship, that can definitely really affect it. If you can't love yourself, it's gonna be hard to love someone else and accept someone else's love, right?
Exactly. And that's the thing. If you can't love yourself, well, how is someone else going to be able to love you? And that's why I've had to I had to strip a lot of things back and really strip myself bare to find that love again and really deeply love myself the way I should, so that when love does enter my life, I'm actually ready for it, but I can actually love someone else and accept their love for me because I love myself.
Yeah, that's so powerful, and I totally completely agree. Like that's awesome. And you're only 24, so I mean I'm not that much older than you, but it's awesome that you're able to like address these things now. Like and like it's you're gonna go real far and like real good places, I can tell. Being able to address these things now because like these are the things that really affect people, like not loving yourself, eating the harmful foods, the negative self-talk, and like yeah, you're gonna go way up there.
But it's true because I feel if I didn't address these as so early on in my life, who knows where I'd be 10 years, 20 years from now, you know? Um, and that's another thing too, is I never, growing up in and going through some of the things I did, I never thought I'd actually be here still. I really didn't want to be. Um, but all the changes that I've made, I'm like, I'm so grateful to be here. I'm glad I'm still here and I can see the positive and I can see that light at the end of the tunnel. And that light is just shining bright and I'm here stepping through it now. So, and that's so important because, and that's why that's probably my biggest message is that anyone who has felt the way I have felt, I totally understand. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel when you make these significant changes. Because if you don't, who knows where you're going to end up? And if you don't want to be and if you don't want to end up like that, now's the time to change. And that's why I've had to do it so early on, so I can help people in a similar position.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And that's such a great message. And I love the fact that you've addressed it now, and then you're going to go help other people because I feel like that's truly how we change the world. Like people are like, oh, you can't change the world. You're just one person. It's like, no, we can definitely change the world, and the
Yeah.
people around us, right? Like the same way we're being influenced by the negative, we can influence people positively as well. So that's fantastic that you were able to do that, and you're going to go help other people
Yeah,
as well.
and just on that, I was going to say, even surrounding yourself with more positive people helps so much. I've noticed, my old friends, they weren't negative people. It was just vibrationally, we're on a different level, and I've done so much change. Is where I'm not saying they're stuck, but they haven't had the growth or haven't had to change as much as I have. So it just felt like the friendship's kind of ended, and I'm now surrounding myself with a whole lot more positive people, and it actually helps me to feel even better because if I'm around people that yeah they have a few self-sabotages, but and at the end of the day they are still good people. It's just I've needed to be around more positive people that are going to help me lift me up even more.
Mhm.
And when I do get into positions where I'm a little bit down or something, I've got some people that are really going to positively lift me up and benefit me by me being around them.
Yeah, I love that, and I totally agree with you. Like, I think they say like the five closest people you have around you is who you're likely going to end up like, and it's so true, right? Like how many times I've had a friend like say a phrase over and over and over again, and then all of a sudden like that phrase just keeps popping in my head. I'm like, what? Like, and I'll catch myself saying that exact same thing. And it's like, well, it's because like humans are imitative learners, so we really like mimic other people, and that's kind of just a safety mechanism. So yeah, I completely agree with that, and that's awesome being able to do that for yourself and to surround yourself with that positivity. Did you feel like you started to make some of these changes? I know because like a lot of like the health stuff and like being overweight and stuff like that. Do you think the whole COVID stuff kind of helped you become aware of it too, or how did that play?
Honestly, honestly, I'm actually grateful that all that COVID crap happened because it allowed me to make the changes that I needed to be in the position I am. Honestly, I started when all the lockdowns and all that crap was happening. I was going out for walks. I did not care. I was going for 13K walks and I was loving life. My dog probably hated it going every day, but yeah, that allowed me to make the changes. So honestly, I know a lot of people hate the COVID and all that crap that has happened, but I'm grateful for it because it has allowed me to make the changes and the right changes for me to still be here.
Yep. That's awesome. Yeah. I feel like I was the same way. I used that time to work on myself and um to like to work and like make myself better. And I feel like that's so important because we can take like a bad experience and make something better out of it, right? Like just because it's a bad experience doesn't mean you have to have a bad experience with it.
Exactly. And I noticed very early on because I was really just starting a lot of this work is I was feeling so lonely because I wasn't around people. I wasn't around my friends, and we were, talking on on FaceTime and that, and I was just feeling so alone. And then I started to realize, no, I'm feeling lonely because I don't know who I am. And then I didn't like my own company. So I had to really shift a lot of that so that I can love myself. I can love my own company, and it's okay to be on my own with my own thoughts. And I'm not going to have a lot of those negative thoughts that I used to have. So now I'm in a position where I actually love going for a walk and being on my own. I love doing stuff on my own. I never thought I would. Like I actually went on a overnight trip to Torquay in to the beach here in Victoria on my own. I never
Huh?
thought I'd ever do that. Like and there's just so much positive that has come from this work. Like it's the most powerful work you'll ever do.
Yeah. I love that. And I'm sure it's probably helped you just in all aspects of your life, kind of like how we've been talking about. And it's probably going to continue moving forward. Like it just opens up so much possibilities, right? When you start to have that positive mindset and you start to see things in a different light, like you'll see things that you've never seen before. Like if you were been shut down and had a negative mindset, you might not have seen certain opportunities or, you know, taken that whole COVID experience might not have been the same if you didn't take those steps. So that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel for a lot of people, the COVID experience was, oh my God, I'm stuck in my house. I'm stuck doing this. And it's like, well, you're only stuck if you believe you're stuck.
Mhm.
Because, yeah, like, you can still get out and you can still exercise. You can still do different stuff. You don't have to be around people all the time. And, work on yourself too. And that's what I feel a lot of people miss that opportunity to work on themselves, to
Yes.
benefit themselves, to be better. I've spoken to some people that are like, "I put so much weight on during all that COVID stuff." And I'm like, "I actually lost weight."
Mhm.
And they're like, "What? You're one of the people that did that?" I'm like, "Yeah, because I used the time wisely. Like I had all this time. I'm like, I don't want to be sitting on my ass all day watching Netflix or, you know, I want to get out. We honestly had some really nice days weather-wise, so take advantage of that. Or I know for you guys in America, you were really stuck in your houses. So it's like, well, you got a backyard. If you've got a backyard, utilize it too. Like there were so many different avenues that a lot of people didn't think about.
Yeah, no, I was definitely just going out. Like I know me and my wife were just like going just like you, like we went out on walks like every day and we were just getting out in the sunshine and I totally agree with you. It's all in your mind. Like if you think you're stuck, then you're gonna be stuck. And that's really just the power of like what we think and what the words we use. Um I completely agree with that. Yeah, that's very powerful.
And that's what Nathan and I have been applying now in our lives. Like, so for this Christmas break, we were going to go away, and then once a few things didn't happen, it was like we were starting to feel great. We're going to be stuck here for Christmas. We don't want to be stuck. And then we changed that, and I said straight away when and Nathan was in a bit of a in an interesting mood. I said straight away, I'm like, well, you can be stuck, but I'm going to the beach for the day. I don't want to be here, so I'm going to make the opportunity. Okay, I can't go to where we wanted to go, but I'll still go somewhere. I'll still do something. And then the next day or two, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll come to the beach." I'm like, "All right, I'm glad you've changed your mindset." Like, and that's all it was. I was like, okay, well, I didn't want to be stuck. I just completely, and that's how quickly I'm noticing, I've been healing a lot of stuff. Like, okay, one door closes and a window or something will open and another opportunity will arise. And any kind of situation like that, I'm like, we'll figure it out. It'll figure it out. Or, maybe we were supposed to never go and we are supposed to go to the beach for the day. Like, yeah, the universe is it can give you a lot of challenges, but it's how you handle those challenges is where the real growth and the real you kind of shines.
I completely agree and feel like the universe is always conspiring in our favor. It may not be exactly how we think it's going to happen, right? Like it may not be going to exactly where you want to be going. Then you have a new opportunity of going to the beach or something like that. So I completely agree. It's just based on how you look at things.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. We are a lot of us are powerful manifestors. So we're gonna if we want to manifest the reality or the situation or whatever we want, we can make that happen. And it kind of starts with the positive self-talk, the positive surrounding yourself with more positive people, the positive environment that you have, and you're going to be able to manifest a lot more positive stuff instead of, what you're trying to manifest the positive stuff, but you're stuck in the negative. So you're going to keep getting the negative stuff. So it's put yourself in a positive position to get the positive stuff that you want.
Yep, completely agree. Because if you focus on that negative, you're going to get more negative, just like we were talking about earlier, right? If you
Yeah.
focus on the negative, you're going to get more of the same. If you focus on positive, you're going to get more of that. So I completely agree with that. And I think we really all are manifestors. We all are have the ability to create, right? Um,
Yeah.
so yeah.
I was going to say, like, it's the words that you choose too. So I've been working on not saying trying because I don't like the word try or trying because, like in different situations, like, oh, I'm trying to do this or I'm trying to be better. Well, it's like, well, you can try, but I just don't like the word. So I'll change it and be like, I'm attempting or I'm working on because it sounds better. And the way you say it, it seems to work. It seems, I don't know, it sounds better than saying try or trying. I don't like it.
I agree with you. Try. I feel like try implies that we're gonna possibly fail, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's like giving ourselves an out, like, oh, I might fail, so I'm just gonna say I'm gonna try. I like to say
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it, and it may not happen like the first attempt, but it's I'm gonna if it does, if like the first my first attempt at doing it is like a failure, then I'm not gonna just give up. I'm going to change the way I was doing it
Yeah.
and continue forward and actually do the thing I was wanting to do. So
Exactly. And that's why even just saying I'm working on that or because I know sometimes we can say, oh, I'm trying to be better. And it's like, well, no, you should be saying I'm working on being better because you're working on it. You're not trying. You're not trying, and that's why I feel when you say, "Oh, I'm working on it," it's like, well, that sounds so much better because you're actually putting the effort in, and you're eliminating that chance of failing, or you're eliminating, like, yeah, you might fail, but gee, you're going to keep working on it because it's not something that you're just going to perfect straight away.
yep. And here's a little trick for you. You can say I am getting better every day because
Yeah,
you want to keep it in that I am where you're really telling yourself you're doing it now. You know,
yeah,
yeah, and because I feel like a lot of people, that they're about the affirmations and things like that, but they don't realize that there's like certain rules that our subconscious mind like listens to and like avoid those negatives. Like, and I know that portion of it, and just always stay in the present tense
yeah,
because
exactly.
exactly because like if you're telling yourself you're gonna have in the future, well, when's the future? It's always a day away, right? Like I'm gonna do this tomorrow. Well, tomorrow is always a day away. Tomorrow really never gets here because when the next day comes, tomorrow's now a day away again.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I've been working on a lot of that, especially staying in the present moment too, because I noticed I went to the concert a few weeks ago for the first time in ages, and I was like, so many people have got their phones out, and it's like, so you're gonna watch it when you get home? Like, why don't you just enjoy being in that present moment, enjoy being in that present, just being in the present. Like, and I only touched my phone like twice because Nathan was messaging me. But other than that, I was like, you know what? I'm, you're paying a lot of money to go to a concert, so you might as well enjoy being in that present moment, listening to that music or whatever it is. Just enjoy being in that present moment. You don't need to be on your phone. You don't need to be scrolling through social media, worrying about this, that, and the other. And it's like all of that can come in 2 hours after the concert or after whatever, even sporting events. Like I remember going to the tennis, actually going to watch the Australian Open. I used to sit on my phone sometimes. And I was like, why am I doing that? I can sit at my phone at home and I wouldn't have to pay money. And then I started to notice that. So I kept my phone in my pocket or kept it somewhere else. And I was like, I actually paid money to be here. So I want to watch the tennis match or whatever.
Yeah, I love that because I definitely feel like that's a big thing in our society nowadays, right? Always on the phone, always trying to capture the things on the phone. It's like you're kind of missing out on the present right now.
Yeah, and that can apply to even just worrying about the future or worrying about money or worrying about this, that, and the other. And it's like stay in the present moment because a lot of the worries they'll be taken care of because you're not there yet. I know for me sometimes I'd get stuck in worrying about what's coming or what I'm going to be doing or where I'm going to be, and it's like, well, I don't have to actually have that figured out just yet. I can continue to work on myself so I can actually get there because I'm not going to get there in a day. I'm not going to get there, you know, it's going to take a little bit of time. So it's like, all right, I'll keep doing what I'm doing to work on myself so that when the door opens up, I can actually walk through it.
Mhm. I love that because I feel like focusing on like the big overarching goals can sometimes can get like daunting, right? Like losing all this weight or getting muscle or finding a relationship. But if you just focus on like the small individual daily actions that you can take to get there, it becomes much more achievable. And then you can
Yeah.
actually feel good about like, hey, I worked out today. Like that's a good thing. You have to focus on like losing that weight because the weight will come off. You'll gain muscle as you continue to work out. You just focus on working out. Like that's the main goal.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. I was always someone to have a lot of worries. I was always worried about something. I was always worried about just I was always worried about there was always something that I would find to be worried about. And I noticed that I was ignoring what was happening in the present and I was ignoring the good stuff that I was actually doing in that present moment that actually takes away that worry and that anxiety and that even that level of stress of because you can get into a stressful state by having all that worry. And it's so important to just let that go because you're not going to get there just yet. And I always go back to a saying that I've used with Nathan and I is it's not going to be like this forever. We're not going to be in this position forever. We're not going to be here forever. We're not going to be living where we are forever. Like so many things are going to happen. And why worry about it? Just let them happen. Let them happen as they're supposed to, because as you said, the universe will provide. It's just a matter of us continuing to work on ourselves, be and getting better so that when that door does open, we can walk through it and we can be the best version of ourselves.
Yeah, I love that. Um, I had a question because I know you mentioned the Netflix. How much TV did you used to watch, and have you changed that now? Like, do you watch a lot of TV right now?
Not as much as I used to. I was someone that would watch, I would watch a lot of TV. Oh, it was bad. I would, as soon as I'd get up in the morning, I mean, I still do it now, but it's not as bad. As soon as I get up in the morning, I'd turn the TV on and I'd probably lay on the couch till God knows when I could be bothered getting off it. And then I would go to bed, but I used to have a TV in my room, so I'd turn the TV on in my room and I'd sit there till about nearly midnight, and then I'd go to sleep. Or when I felt tired enough to go to sleep because I was in a terrible routine where I had a lot of trouble sleeping overnight because I was watching the screen or I was on my phone or you know there was a lot of excuse me a lot of technology use, and I've noticed to change that I actually while I was away I sold my TV, so I've come back home and it's not like I can turn the TV on anymore. um And yeah, I might turn the TV on for a little bit of the morning. It's more or less on in the background, and then I'll be making my a drink that I have in the morning, and then I'll turn it off, and I'm out the door going for a walk. Um, and then yeah, I'll come home. I'll usually shower or whatever, and then I the TV would be on for a little bit, and I'd be making lunch or doing whatever, and then yeah, it's not and I'm not really glued to it like I used to be. Having to watch it. It's like it's kind of there. I'm doing other stuff, like I'll be on my phone doing my medium stuff, like writing some quotes or doing whatever, and it's just on. I'm not watching it. I'm doing other stuff generally.
That's awesome. What do you think caused you to start getting away from the TV?
Um, Probably Nathan. And just a lot of the programming in it. Like there's still a couple of TV shows that I'll watch every now and then where I might, depending on what it is, I might actually be sitting there watching it, and I'm like, there's this one show where they're promoting that it's okay to be in a throuple, which is like a 3-person couple, and I'm like, no, no.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do whatever you want, but I don't know about that.
Hmm. Yeah, that's and when I don't I used to watch a lot of TV just like you. I used to like binge watch like shows. I like watch like a couple seasons like in a couple days, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah,
But then as I became more aware of like how the subconscious mind works, like the subliminal messages, like the programs within the like they call it TV programming for a reason, right? Because it's literally programming you. And I when I started becoming aware of that stuff, I was like, what am I watching right now? Like really, like I didn't pay attention to that stuff before, but like once you start to become aware, you realize like it's
I
having a
noticed.
big effect on you.
Oh, it does. And I noticed for me, I started to wake up to a lot of that programming and the messaging and all that. I decided that it would be fun to go back and watch some of the shows that I used to watch with a new set of eyes. Don't know if I recommend doing that, but some of the things that I missed, I was like, how did I miss that? And at the moment, I've been just rewatching a bit of Law and Order SVU, and I've been going back and actually paying attention to some of not just what they're promoting, which is coffee mainly,
Yeah.
but some of the other stuff. I'm like, actually, some of these cases that they're covering is so interesting, and I never actually paid attention to that. And to some of the stuff is actually what's happened in this world and what's been happening, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting now. And just having that new set of eyes, it's like it's so interesting watching different stuff.
Yeah, and I think your point with the coffee is pretty spot on. Like most TV shows or movies, right? Like the first like 5 to 10 minutes, you'll see coffee,
Yep.
someone drinking coffee or alcohol or some kind of drugs within like the first 5 to 10 minutes. Um, and yeah, that's so common. You'll see like you always see the newscasters or like people on the news, right? They always have their coffee cup, even if they're not
Yeah.
drinking at all. They'll always have a coffee cup by them or something like that.
Especially those like the morning shows. I know for us we have Sunrise. Oh, it's just there. It's sitting, the coffee cup is sitting there the whole time. And it's probably, as Nathan just said, it's probably empty, but
Yep.
it's sitting there the whole time. And I don't even think watching back when I used to watch some of that, I was like, I don't even remember them having a drink out of it.
They
Or if
don't.
they did, it was probably on the ad break.
Do you drink coffee and caffeine?
No, never liked it. I mean, working in a cafe, I mean, actually, I hate the smell of it.
Oh wow.
And walking the coffee cups up to people, I'm like, and there's so many different versions of coffee. Like you got your lattes and all of this stuff, and I'm like, I can't even remember half of them. I have to keep asking the person that's making them to be like, so what was this? What is this? And they're like, it's a latte, and I'm like, well, I don't know what a friggin' latte is. They're all the same to me.
Yep.
You got your cappuccinos and all of this stuff. I'm like, okay. So I take them over, and then some of them are very specific about, they want soy milk or they want oat milk or they want some sort of milk. And you have to go over there. And if they're in a group of people, I'm like, who had the soy cap, I think it is, or the soy latte or whatever. Oh, it can be so hard because I just, now working in a cafe, I never realized the different versions of coffee and the different options that are out there. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, man, it's it's definitely super popularized in our society, right? Like some people, but were you into like sodas like with caffeine in them and stuff like that?
That was, yeah. I was more, yeah, well,
Or
like your
energy
hand
drinks?
chocolate. No, no,
Oh, okay.
not so much energy drinks. I mean, when I played tennis, I used to think, oh yeah, I'll have a Powerade or a Gatorade, and used to think they were okay until I now worked out no. But
Yeah.
yeah, probably more soft drink was more the the drink of choice growing up, but we never really had it in the house. So it was anytime I'd mainly drink it was when we're, I don't know, out for dinner or something, and that's when I'd have like five lemonades or five whatever the sugary, most sugary, no, the most sugar drink I could have. And it was usually the raspberry soft drink or whatever that is. I yeah had way too many of them.
That's awesome though. I mean, that's good that you weren't really into coffee or caffeine that much because I don't know those things definitely have an effect on you. I was always like I kind of got into like the energy drinks for a while when I was working like a late night. I used to work at a taco cart. We'd
Yeah,
work like we'd serve all the like the bar crowd, so we'd be like open to like 3 a.m. in the morning. And I'd like,
yeah.
oh yeah, I have to have an energy drink to stay awake. When I really didn't, I would just tell myself that, and then I remember one night I had like two of them or like two and a half of them. And I ended up throwing up like a whole bunch of stuff, and I was like, okay, no more. I'm done. I'm just done with this.
I know my boss at the cafe, she has at least two the V energy drinks. She'll
Uh-huh.
have two of them in the workday, and that's to keep her awake. And I'm like, I yeah, as Nathan just said, drink water, but
Yeah.
but just watching that, I'm like, how do you drink that stuff? I never one for the V or the Red Bull or whatever. And I know with the cafe, they while we're on our break, because we've got about 3 weeks off, they're doing renovations because they want to make it a bar. And then hearing that, I was like, I don't want to work in the bar. I don't want to be serving alcohol, not because I don't want to or I don't want the money. It's like it's late nights, and I'm someone I've got myself in such a routine now that when I break it, it's so hard because I feel so tired the next day.
Yeah, that was late nights jobs are not like I used to work in one of those and it had a negative effect on me. And I think that just because no one really should be staying up like those late nights like that. Like
Yeah.
we have a circadian rhythm that really we should be following, like going to bed with the sun, waking up with the sun. So I think it's yeah, I completely agree with you. Staying with, you know, with
Yeah.
your
And staying,
morning.
and especially staying in some sort of rhythm. I know for me, I have done a lot of work so that I go to sleep at least 10:30 at the latest, and then I'll wake up. Actually, this week I've been waking up my earliest, which has been 7 o'clock, and usually it'll be 7:30. It's usually between 7 and 7:30. I usually wake up, but because of work as well, I've gotten myself into such a routine and such a rhythm that I can't go to bed later. Otherwise, I'm so tired the next day. And that was something that I've always been was I've and Nathan can contest to this. I was always tired. I'd always say I'm tired. Even sometimes now I'll be like, you know what, I am a little bit tired, but it's not as bad as what it used to be. And when I was really tired, you didn't want to be around me. I was very grumpy. And now that I've switched that and worked on that, it's like I'm tired, but I'm not going to be grumpy and taking anything out on the people that are around me.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you've been able to address that, and because sleep is so important for our health, right? Like so
Yeah.
important.
Oh
Okay.
yeah,
You
it's
were gonna say?
definitely. I was going to say it's definitely important, and I've noticed even with my sleep, I'm feeling healthier and I'm feeling fitter and I'm feeling like I have more energy throughout the day than what I used to, and that goes a long way.
Yeah, that's definitely powerful stuff. So I kind of want to wrap things up a little bit. If you have like one like kind of general point you want to leave the listeners with as far as like overcoming self-sabotage or just kind of loving themselves or whatever you think is the most important for them to address right now, like if they are feeling like the same way you were feeling, what would you tell them? What's your advice?
My advice is it's my favorite saying that I've been saying a lot is it's not going to be like this forever. And I feel the biggest message is that people can be so stuck in their depression, in their sadness, in their anxiety, and it's all treatable without needing those medications that you can get. Like I've done all this work without taking any kind of medications. Like, yeah, I'll take, magnesium, but it's all those healthy supplements that we can take that actually make such a big difference in our lives. And the biggest message is that if, for anyone that has been feeling the way I have felt, well, take a look at me now because I have done so much work. I've become the best version of myself. And I'm still growing and I'm still learning. Um, it's putting in that hard work to be able to love yourself. Do that hard work because where your life can go from now is you've got all the opportunities at your hand, at your fingertips. It's like you know, it's not hard to do the work. It feels hard in those moments, but it's really not hard.
Yeah, and it's pretty much like exchanging one hard for another hard, right? Like
Yeah.
doing the work now to enjoy your life more, or not doing the work and living a life where you're depressed and you don't feel good about yourself.
And that's the thing. It's like, well, what do you want more? Do you want to be living the same life, the same negative, living those same, doing the same thing every day, doing, you know, the same hard crap that you've had to do your whole life? Or do you want to live the life that you really want? Or do you want to live be the most authentic self you can be the positive change that you can, that you can implement? Like, it's just it's the most powerful work that you can do, but the amount of change and the amount of happiness that it can bring your life is exceptional. And I sometimes I get into a position where I'm like, how can no one else want to do this? Like, how can there be so many people that still don't want to do this? Because who would want to sit at a pub till 5 a.m.? Who would want to be, getting absolutely plastered? Like when I was at my work function, one of my workmates, she's nearly 18, which is the legal age in Australia. She got so drunk so early that we actually had to carry her out, and it was
Wow.
only like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And I'm like, why do you want to do that to yourself? Why are you proud of that?
Mm.
Like, I know, it's your life, that's your journey. If you want to do that, that's fine. But I'm like, there's so many healthier, like, there's so many other things that you could do that, yeah, it just amazed me.
Yeah.
Going back into that after being out of that kind of lifestyle for so long, going back into that and witnessing that, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah, I love it and spot on. And yeah, thanks for sharing that because I think that is really powerful, information and advice they can give someone is, if you are feeling like you are stuck or like you are like depressed and you don't like where you are, you can make those changes and you don't need pharmaceutical drugs to do so, right?
Exactly.
Like you can use what's given to us from Mother Earth and um from nature pretty much, and you can
Yeah.
use pretty much what you have inside you. You can use your thoughts, you can use your words, you can look yourself in the mirror, do that mirror work and the affirmations like Jordy has done, and you can really make a difference in your life.
And I was even going to add to that. And, sometimes we can't do all this work on our own too. Like sometimes we need to reach out to other people. And it's important that you pick the right people to reach out to as well. The more positive people, the more positive influences that you can, and the advice that you can get from those positive influences can really benefit too. And that's the most important thing is we can't always do all this work on our own.
Yeah, that's spot on. And I know for me and most people I know who have been able to, get to a better spot in their life, like just asking for help and reaching out to someone else has been like one of the biggest catalysts of changes in their life and like allowed them to actually make that quick change and really start to move forward and like gear forward.
Exactly. I was someone who never used to ask for help well, I didn't really ask for help. It was more I leaned on my friends in a bad way in the sense of I would just tell them all my stuff and be like, this is what I'm going through. And then it's like, oh, this is what you should do. And I'd hated the advice that I used to get. And it's like, well, once I stopped oversharing so much and realizing, you know what, I can do some of that work on my own. And then I can, and if I do need to lean on someone, it's not as heavy or as bad as what it used to be. It's like, you know what, I'm not okay, or I'm a little bit sad today. And it's like you get that more positive advice on how to handle it. And then you're like, you know how to do the work on your own. Then you're like, okay, I'm in this position again. I know what I need to do to get out of it.
Yeah, and that's so powerful. Taking that, like, a lot, some of that like responsibility into your own hands, and learning how to help yourself. I think it's really important.
Yeah, definitely. It's so important to just to do this work. Like it's not gonna it's gonna change your life for the better. Why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yeah, I love that. So for anyone who is listening, uh, where I know you kind of mentioned like it's Facebook, it's Instagram, you have a website, right?
Yeah, I do have a website. Yeah, and I have a YouTube channel as well that I will be um posting again. I haven't posted for a while, but I will be I will be coming back to my YouTube channel as well. So yeah, I've got Instagram, Facebook. Facebook is interesting because I can't actually get onto that page anymore. Um, Facebook has disabled my personal account. Long story, it's absolute bullshit. But yeah, so I can't actually access my Facebook, but you can find me on Instagram, YouTube channel, and my website.
Perfect. Yeah, and I think I have actually your link tree. I found that, so I'll post that down in the description below so people can find you,
Yeah.
and contact with you. And if someone's looking to get like a psychic reading done or something like that, are you able to do that over like Zoom, or like, how does that work?
Yeah, definitely can do it over Zoom. It kind of depends on the kind of reading that they want to, but yeah, definitely over Zoom, over text, or even a phone call. Yeah, whatever suits the person, we can make it work.
Awesome. Yeah. So definitely contact Jordy if you guys are interested in that, guys. Jordy, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It really has been amazing speaking with you and getting to know you and hearing your story. So thank you so much for sharing that. It's been
Yeah, no
fantastic.
worries. Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right, guys. So make sure you all like, subscribe, leave us a comment. I'm sure Jordy will reply to any comments you guys put on there. It all those things really help kind of get this message out there. So if someone is feeling like Jordy was, they can know there's a way out. There is a way out. It doesn't matter, like, even if your life is slightly different, even if your feelings are slightly different. That's why I do these interviews, right? It doesn't matter what you've experienced in life. We can all overcome self-sabotage. We can all start to move forward to a better spot. We can all start to love ourselves. And it really just starts with um, allowing yourself to do that work and being more conscious of the things you're saying to yourself, and really taking back that power that really you've had your whole life. It just you've somehow convinced yourself you don't. So take that power back, and yeah, let us know what you guys thought of this. We'd love to hear from you guys. And yep, I hope you guys all have a good night. Thank you, Jordy, once again. And we're signing off here. Perfect.